Well, a very good afternoon to you, and welcome to the very first lunchtime talk session. And we have the great pleasure of having a very inspirational guest with us, who I will be introducing in a very short while. It is lunchtime, so I do hope you've either ordered something from our lunch menu and it has been delivered to you at home. And just in case you have not done that, I hope you've rushed to the fridge or grabbed a sandwich or something from somewhere. Just settle in, make yourself comfortable, because we have the great pleasure of getting to speak to and hear from and listen to someone whose life really, really inspires me. Let me just start off with a few housekeeping rules to start off with. If you were not previously registered and you're just really connecting directly on here, please do go ahead and register so that we know you are here and we can also keep you informed with stuff from after this very first lunchtime talk. This session is being recorded, as you know, so please bear that in mind and give your consent. A link will be provided afterwards for all of you who we have got your details. Now, I'm not 100% sure that we have the chat box available on this very first session. However, what you can do is, if you want to ask a question of our speakers, just pull up our social media handles on Facebook or on Twitter and drop your question in there, and we will get your question to our speaker so that she's able to respond to that. And the handles are coming up on the screen right now. So some of the rules for housekeeping apply more to a Zoom environment, but you're probably on our YouTube platform, so it doesn't necessarily apply. Okay, so use social media to comment and use the hashtags that have been provided. Now, without further ado, I'm going to invite you to hear from our very inspirational speaker for this afternoon. Now, just before I bring her on, I'm going to introduce a video that tells you a bit more about her.
It's almost lunchtime. The International Organization for Peace Building and Social Justice, PSJUK, invites you to its maiden edition of Lunchtime Talks online. Are you passionate about Nigeria? Are you interested in seeing the nation prosper and maximize its potential? Are you interested in being part of the solution to the absence of peace and lack of security in parts of the world? If your answer is yes to one or more of these questions, then join PSJUK as we host the inspirational speaker Ronke Adeagbo, founder of IA Foundation, over lunchtime on Thursday, September 23rd. It promises to be informative, inspirational, and educative. Save the date, Thursday, September 23rd, 2021. Time, 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Visit www.psjuk.org/lunchtime to register or order lunch. See you there.
Okay, so that was the video that tells you about what you already know about because you're here now. But now I would like us to play the video that introduces our speaker. So backroom, please roll the second video. Born in the UK but raised up in Nigeria, Mrs. Ronke Adeagbo is the founder of IA Foundation, a charity set up to reduce the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria. She is very passionate about education and would like to see all Nigerian children access quality education irrespective of their background. Hence, she is leading IA Foundation to achieve this mission. Ronke, as she is fondly called, is a chartered accountant who works with a unit of the UK Home Office that's been set up to prevent children and young people from becoming involved in crime. She's a fellow of both ACCA and SIPFA, accountancy bodies in the UK. In addition, she's a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN, where she serves on the Annual Accountants Conference Committee as the head of protocol. She has served as a past chairman of ICANN's UK district with a membership of over 500 chartered accountants. Our speaker today has served as Director of Finance and Non-Executive Director of various UK charities and organisations, including the British Safety Council, YMCA, TfL, Turning Point and Greenwich Community College. Ronke was a member of the Royal Borough of Greenwich's Probity and Conduct Committee, the disciplinary panel for all Greenwich councillors. Further, she served as the treasurer of her church, New Covenant Church, for 10 years and treasurer of CANUC, the Central Association of Nigerians in the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, do join me in welcoming to the platform today our speaker, Ronke Adiago. Welcome, Ronke. It is a tremendous pleasure to have you on our maiden edition of Lunchtime Talks. We've got a room full of YouTubers around London, around the UK, around the world who are connecting in to listen to you. And it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Pastor Ayo. Thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, you know, your story inspires me, and I'm sure it's going to inspire a lot of our listeners and viewers now and those who will be listening to it afterwards. I'm basically going to yield the floor to you, and you've got about 25 minutes to share what's on your heart to all of the people who are listening to you. So, Ronke, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to all the audience online at the moment. I love every one of you. And thanks for taking the time to spend your 1 hour lunch with us today. Now, as you know, I'm Ibi Ronke Adiago, and I'm a Nigerian. I'm what I like to call an hybrid Nigerian because my father is from Ogun State. He's an Ijebu man. And my mother is from South, from Delta State, Warri. So I'm sort of mixed, but I'm a typical Nigerian, and I'm very passionate about Nigerian. So I was born so many years ago in London at Guy's Hospital. And my mom tells me I weighed about 10 pounds when I was born. So sorry, Mom, for whatever I ought to have cost when you were giving back to me. I started my formative years in London. I started at Lambeth Nursery School. And when my parents finished studying, they took me back to Nigeria. And I continued with my primary education at a primary school called Omoleye Nursery and Primary School at Onikpan in Pangrove, Lagos. And from there, I moved on to my secondary school at Girls Secondary Grammar School, Bariga, popularly known as Bagada Girls. Whilst I was at school, I was very studious and I was made the library prefect. When I finished secondary school, I passed my JAMB in flying colors, and I scored the highest in my faculty of social sciences in the then Ogun State University, which is now known as Olabisi Onabanjo University. So I studied accountancy, and afterwards I met my partner, my husband, at university, and we both came to London to continue with our studies. And I decided to pursue professional accountancy and decided to study with the ACCA. I qualified in 1996, so I've been qualified for over 25 years now. And then I decided to take another professional exam, which is the SIPFA. So I'm also a member of SIPFA, which is the accountancy body for public accountants. Also, I'm a member of ICANN. I'm a fellow of ICANN, which is the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. I was given the privilege to lead this, to lead the UK district in the year 2010. I was the chairman of ICANN UK district. We have over 500 members in ICANN UK district, and predominantly men. So it wasn't an easy task leading that organization. But obviously, I tried my best to leave my footprints. Also, I've been working as finance director for so many organizations, YMCA, at the TFL. I worked as director of corporate services at Crossway Sixth Form. And that is where I started developing my passion for education. Working within a school environment, you cannot help but be passionate about what you do. So at that point in time, I realized some children are actually deprived, and they are from very poor background, and that could affect their ability to be able to access education. So when I was celebrating my 50th birthday, I decided to set up a foundation to actually help remove any obstacle that would prevent anyone, any child in Nigeria from accessing education. Now, before I set up this foundation, I went to Nigeria, and I saw a 7-year-old boy on the Third Mainland Bridge. He was trying to sell me handkerchief, and this was about 9 o'clock at night. And this boy is a 7-year-old boy. And I was so touched by this boy. I said to the boy, I'm going to buy all your handkerchief from you, but I want you to come with me because you shouldn't be on the street this time of the night. And I asked him, does he go to school? He said he doesn't go to school. So I told him to hop into my car, asked him where his mother lived. He said his mother lives in Ronke. So I drove him home, and I told his mother, why doesn't the boy go to school? And the mother said they are too poor to be able to afford to send him to school. So I told the mother, I'm happy to pay for his fees. So far, the mother is happy to let him go to school. And he started going to school. So I thought, you know what, I could do this on a full scale, actually helping deprived children, vulnerable children, actually get access to education. So in 2019, we set up the IA Foundation. IA Foundation stands for Ronke Adiagbo Foundation. And the whole idea of the foundation is to help remove any barrier preventing any Nigerian child from accessing education, and also to help to reduce the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria. At the moment, we've actually sponsored about 8 children in Nigeria, awarded bursary to them for them to get education. At this point, I would like to thank all our funders, all our donors that have donated to IA Foundation, that has enabled us to carry out our objectives of making sure we remove children from the streets and make sure they go to the classrooms, they go and learn, because that is where they're meant to be. Now, as you know, because of the insurgency in Nigeria, insecurity is paramount everywhere. Children are being kidnapped from school. This started when the Chibok girls were kidnapped 7 years ago. We thought it was just a one-off, but as you know, every other month now, children are being kidnapped. And what this has done is that it's exacerbated the problem. We now have more children that are out of school. Because if you were their parents, you wouldn't want to send your kids to school. Because can you imagine, just last month, one of the Chibok girls that was kidnapped was released, and this poor girl came back with 2 children 7 years after. This girl did not bargain for this. She went to school to study, and now she's come back 7 years with 2 children of bandits. This is not fair on the next generation of Nigerian children. It is not right. We need to be deliberate about this, because this is scarring the next generation of Nigerians. So we all need to, actually, all hands need to be on deck to make sure no Nigerian child is on the streets. No Nigerian child is deprived from getting education. Education is the weapon that you can use to reduce poverty. It will reduce insecurity, because one of the reasons for the insecurity is because of poverty. People do not have money, they do not have jobs. And one of the reasons they do not have jobs is because they haven't got any education. So we find ourselves in a spiral cycle, which is unending. So in my opinion, the silver bullet to solve this problem is to make sure every Nigerian child gets educated. And that is what IA Foundation is all about, removing these barriers to make sure all the Nigerian children get educated. The last statistics we had from the Nigerian government said 10.6 million children are out of school, out of a population of about 200 million. This is not right. It is not acceptable. 10.6 million children is too high. These kids need to be in the classroom. So we need to support these Nigerian children to make sure they can get off the street. Whatever you can do. If you want to set up a foundation yourself, by all means, that's a good idea. If you want to support our foundation by donating to us, that's a good idea as well. But what we all need to do, it needs to be all hands on deck to make sure we get all these kids off the street and into the classroom for them to get good education. Especially because of the pandemic as well. Many children have lost out on their education. They've lost ground. Our foundation has been distributing e-learning devices to make sure these children can actually catch up with their education. You can do that as well. You can support these children as well. We are working with the Nigerian government to make sure we can reduce this number, to make sure we can dent this number. UNESCO actually suggested that it would be nice for any government to spend 26% of their budget on education so we can catch up. Nigeria at the moment spends 5.6 million on education. This is not enough. We need to encourage our government. We need to be advocates. We need to let our government know that education is the only way in which you can reduce poverty, in which you can eradicate poverty and actually make everyone achieve their aspirations in life. So I would like to encourage everybody, please do not neglect Nigeria. Please go home often and try and see what's happening there and try and help. It needs to be all hands on deck. This is not business as usual anymore. It's business unusual because we are sitting on a time bomb. And when it does explode, it's going to affect us all. The old sage, Obafemi Awolowo, did say, the children of the poor who you refuse to educate today will not let our children sleep in future. I pray this will not be our portion, but we are already seeing that happening now with kidnapping and banditry all over the place. You and I can put a stop to this by investing in the education of the next generation of Nigerian children. Please, I would like to encourage you. Take time out to sponsor a child to make sure they can access education. Help remove all barriers that will prevent any child from accessing education, especially the girl child, because culturally, these children are deprived. Culturally, these girls are being married off before they are matured enough. So please let us encourage parents to send their girl child to school. We've got a classic example in Dr. Ngozi Okojo-Iweala. She is a Nigerian. She's the one leading the World Trade Organization. So girls deserve to have education, especially Nigerian girls. So all hands on deck for us to support this. I am determined. I am passionate about making this happen. This is like a legacy for me. And I will do this with all my heart and with every of my breath. So I want to encourage you as well to make sure you support all Nigerian children to make sure they can access education. So thank you very much for listening. I'm happy to take any question whatsoever you've got for me, whether it's about my background or about what I do or about my foundation. By all means, I'm happy to take any questions from you this afternoon. But I just want to thank you for your time because I know we are all pressed for time. I know we are all busy. So I just want to appreciate you for your time, which you're spending with us this afternoon. Thank you.
Wow. Ronke, wow, thank you so much. I see you've gone backstage. I think you need to join me back in the room. Thank you so much for just sharing what I know is just a snippet of your story right there. And I'm sure the audience would already start putting their questions in, and the team will let us know what those questions are. But just while they're getting those questions together, what is immediately obvious to me is your passion for education, and particularly the girl child. I can't believe you actually stopped on the road, picked up someone, drove them home. I mean, if that's not inspirational, what is? That is really amazing. Now, as you're hearing all of this stories that are coming out, I read on CNN the other day that 1 million school children in Nigeria that should be starting school this September are not going to school. It would almost appear as though Boko Haram, which means education is forbidden, is achieving its purposes through the back door because of not only the schools that have been attacked, but all the schools that have closed or the parents that are afraid to send their children to school. It seems like a massive problem. What's your take on how we can mobilize mass numbers of people to deal with this? You know, I salute and applaud what you're doing. You're doing much more than most of us are doing. How do we ramp up to save a nation, Ronke?
Yes, very good question. As you know, education is under attack in Nigeria, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. But we cannot let them win. We need to raise our game. We need to encourage our government to actually make sure they increase the security around schools, to make sure parents feel comfortable sending their kids to school. Because as a parent, if I know the school environment is not safe for my child, no matter whatever you say, I would not send my child to school. So the government needs to intensify the security around school premises. The government also needs to make sure there is processes in place to vet people who work in the school. Because when these kids are being kidnapped, there is insider knowledge. Somebody within the school will be involved, otherwise they won't be successful. So if you don't vet the school staff, then you would have bandits applying for jobs in schools. And that would now make children more vulnerable. So there needs to be a vetting agency that would vet those who are going to work in schools. Now, also in the north, we have so many ungoverned spaces. So it's very difficult for the security network to extend to all those areas. So what we are encouraging the government of the day to do is to close down those schools in ungoverned areas and open up mega schools within the city, so that there's so many children on a particular premises that even when the bandits come, these children can actually overwhelm these bandits. We would also like to encourage the government to use technology, because these bandits and these kidnappers, they use mobile phone technology. I even listened to the news yesterday, and I heard that they use CCTV as well. So basically, what we are saying to the government is that you need to up your game. You need to use technology to be able to detect and be able to track these bandits and be able to make sure they are deterred from actually kidnapping these children. We owe it to ourselves and to the next generation to keep these children safe within school. After all, the prime responsibility of any government is to secure lives and property. So we all need to encourage the government. We all need to work with the government, because the government cannot do it alone. We need to work with them. We need to do our own bit to make sure we can actually surmount this problem. We can dent the number of out-of-school children. Parents can feel confident sending their children to school.
No, thanks so much for that. You mentioned earlier in your talk about being able to come alongside the work that IA Foundation is doing, sponsor a child. First of all, what does it cost to sponsor a child? And secondly, what's the guarantees that that sponsored child will be educated in safety?
Okay, good question. At the moment, we've got lots of information on our website about sponsoring a child, and our website is www.ia-foundation.org. So you could get lots of information on there. So basically, we actually, when people contact us to say they want to sponsor a child, because we've got lots of children on our waiting list already, which we've already vetted, and we can identify that they are from a poor family and their family cannot sponsor them. So basically, what we do is we match the donor with the child, so they have a good working relationship. So whatever information we get from the school in terms of fees, we pass it on to the donor. So at the moment, it costs an average of £500 a year, one academic year, to sponsor a child through through an academic year. So and you can set up a standing order. You can spread it over 12 months to be able to sponsor this child. Now, your second question was about security. As you know, security is a very confidential thing. At the moment, IA Foundation is partnering with an organization whereby they will produce devices for the kids to have on them, to make sure in the unlikely event of them being kidnapped, the device will be able to track them and tell us where they are. But because of the confidential nature of this device, I won't be able to say too much on this platform.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I mean, Ronke, during the pandemic, there was obviously a proliferation of new means of teaching students things, and mobile devices. You talked about giving some of them out as an organization. What is the opportunities that exist for this burgeoning number of out of school children to perhaps do even more of that type of learning? And what's the curriculums like? What do you teach a child via a device? Where do they keep the devices? How do they plug and maintain the devices? Is that a viable route for, reducing, bringing about a deficit in this problem?
Right, that is a wonderful question. Without a doubt, nothing can beat face-to-face education. Being in the classroom, being taught by a teacher, nothing can beat that. But within the circumstance we find ourselves, the e-learning device seems to be a good plan B to make sure children do not lose out on education. So as I said earlier, IA Foundation has partnered with an organization, with a technology organization, whereby we donate e-learning devices to students. Now, that e-learning device is like it's a mobile phone, but you can't use it for Facebook and things like that. All it has on it is only the syllabus, the Nigerian educational syllabus. So from primary school all the way to university is on this small device, right? So what you go for your year, you look at your year, and you've got all the subjects there with all the curriculum in there. Now, there's also safeguarding mechanisms on there to make sure you don't go looking at things that you're not supposed to look at. Also, as you know, in Nigeria, data is always a challenge. This device comes with preloaded data. So parents don't need to worry about buying data. The data is already on the device. Now, the other thing is that you need to charge the device. And electricity is also a challenge in Nigeria. So what we've done is actually, we've got this extra solar device, which is an add-on onto the mobile device that will ensure that even if there is no electricity, there is no power, you can charge the phone with solar energy. And you know, we have a lot of solar energy in Nigeria. Now, this device is a small phone. However, it's very legible. You could see all the syllabus on it. And it just goes for 15,000 naira. Not 15,000 pounds, 15,000 naira. So if you are interested in investing in these devices, you want to donate it to your alumni or whatever, or to your niece and nephew back in Nigeria, please feel free to contact IA Foundation, and we will be able to work with you to make sure you can get this device to your loved ones.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Ronke. Ladies and gentlemen watching, by all means, go ahead and send in your questions. Go and send in your comments. Bosse sent a comment in, just really appreciating you for all the work that you're doing to support the girl child. And whilst we're waiting for those additional questions, and some of them are okay, that's Bosse's comments right coming up on your screen right now. I want you to turn your attention to the role of the diaspora. Ronke, you are epitomizing an element of what the diaspora can and should be doing. And if there were a lot more Ronke Adiagbos in various other sectors, it would make a big, massive difference. How do you see the diaspora coming together, strengthening themselves as one unit to begin to change the various sectors across Nigeria? How do you see that happening?
Okay. Now, without a doubt, I have so much interest in the diaspora, and I believe they can add value to Nigeria, because most developed countries, they've tapped into their diaspora to be able to develop. So I think our Nigeria diaspora in the UK or all over the world, they've got a lot to offer Nigerians. So we need to tap into them. Now, as a group of diaspora, I mean, I'm sure from my introduction, I used to be the treasurer of KANUK. KANUK is the central association of all Nigerians in the UK. So I've had that platform where I've dealt with basically all Nigerian organizations and most Nigerians in the diaspora. However, what I need to say to diasporans is that please don't assume because you are here, you are okay. Everyone else in Nigeria can go to blazes or they can take care of themselves. Please don't do that. We are all from the same country. See it upon yourself that you have a responsibility to make sure people in Nigeria are comfortable, people in Nigeria are living well. And I'm not talking about your immediate family only, right? I'm talking about people that you don't even know, because we only have one country, and that country is Nigeria. And we all have a responsibility to make sure we work collaboratively to make us proud of our country, Nigeria. So things like that, which diaspora can do, I've already mentioned, is you can actually invest in a child's education. You could invest in buying these e-devices for children in Nigeria. You could invest in actually funding this electronic device, which I already spoke about. You could invest in donating books and resources for children back in Nigeria. We are happy to serve as a conduit to make sure everything you want to donate actually gets to those who actually need it back in Nigeria. So things like computers, things like even old clothes you don't need, things you don't need, instead of recycling them here, you can now ship it off to Nigeria. So please don't hesitate in coming forward to donate and care and be philanthropic in your orientation towards Nigeria and the Nigerian community.
That's great. That's great. Now, there was an education summit in London a few weeks ago, possibly a month or two, and the president of Nigeria was in attendance. You attended that conference, Ronke. Tell us about it. What was it about? What is it achieving? And what are your hopes for what it can deliver?
Yeah, I was very excited about that conference because it was like what we needed. And I was really impressed with the president of Kenya because it was its collaboration with the Prime Minister of UK, Boris, that actually brought about this summit. And I'm very proud of both of them. This summit actually came together to raise funds for children all over the world that have been affected or who are vulnerable and can't access education because of poverty or because of the pandemic or whatever reasons. Now, at this summit, $4 billion was raised, right? So therefore, we have a pot of money sitting somewhere to be tapped into, to be drawn down, to actually support vulnerable children in over 171 countries of the world. So that is a really, really impressive initiative. Now, I was particularly impressed with the president of Ghana because he was in attendance as well. And at that conference, countries were encouraged to increase the budget of education to make it double digit. As I said earlier, Nigeria's budget is 5.6%. Now, that's not double digit. Ghana actually is investing 23% of their total budget on education. We want Nigeria to get to that stage as well. So there's this money sitting there, which the Nigerian government needs to tap into. So they need to use all the resources they have to be able to tap into this. Now, our own president as well was at that summit, and he did say he would try his best to make sure we increase that to double digit as well. I want to encourage our President Muhammadu Buhari, to please live up to his promise to increase the education budget to double digits. You know, even if it's from 5.6% to 10%, it's still something. We should be aiming for the 20% range. So we should improve on that trajectory. So let's all encourage our government. Education is important. Without education, we cannot do anything. So they need lots of encouragement to make sure the children have got the resources. You need to go to some schools. The roof are leaking. Their chairs and tables are broken. Some people are even just sitting on the floor. This is not right. This is not fair. Education needs more infrastructure. The education economy needs to be developed. It needs to be more resilient. It needs to be more robust. And it needs funds. And we need to start doing that now, not tomorrow.
Yeah. And Ronke, I mean, as you look across Africa, are you seeing any good examples? I know you gave those two examples of people who are at the summit, but what are you seeing on the ground across Africa in terms of children in education who are doing well, the infrastructure being improved, the security around them? Which nation would you say is a model that Nigeria should perhaps be working with or looking to in terms of that transformation?
Okay. In comparison to the Western world, in Africa, Rwanda and South Africa are really doing very well. The trajectory is just so impressive. And I would want to encourage our own Minister of Education to actually learn from what they're doing in Rwanda and in South Africa as well. So if we can learn from their own, because these are similar Africa countries, because we can't compare ourselves with the UK now. They are streets ahead of us. So, but let's try and see what Rwanda is doing and what they are doing well, and for us to be able to emulate them. As I said to you earlier, the security challenge we have in Nigeria is really, really a big factor, which is affecting us adversely. So once the government can tackle the insecurities and parents are encouraged to send their kids to school, then that would help. Another initiative that's helped reduce the number of out-of-school children is the what we call free school meal in the UK. They have that now in Nigeria. So when parents know that their child will have at least one meal, they will send them off to school, So it's like a carrot which the government is dangling in front of them, and it is working. But it seems like we are taking one step forward and two steps backward. Yeah, so we get the kids into school because the government have dangled the carrot, but because of the security challenges, the parents pull them back. So if we can tackle the insecurity, parents will be so convinced, will be so comfortable to send their kids to school.
Fantastic. Now I'm going to fire you a few quick questions that have come from the floor that people have asked. One of them says, well, can secured education be achieved in Nigeria? I'm sure you're an optimist, but what's your response to that?
My answer would always say it's work in progress. We can achieve, we're not there yet, but we can achieve it if we all work together. I mean, there was a time someone like me and you was schooling in Nigeria. The environment was safe, right? So we can still get back to that position whereby children feel safe going to school. But we all need to work hard. We all need to, all hands needs to be on deck. And we need to make sure we've got the right leaders. Because some leaders have no appreciation of education. Some leaders deliberately hold these children down because they don't want them to be educated, because once they're educated, they would not be subservient to them anymore. So some leaders are deliberately holding these children down. We don't want those kind of leaders. We want aspirational leaders that would encourage children to be educated. Now, the former emir of Kano, Lamido Sanusi Lamido, is one person who actually I admire in terms of his stance on education. When he was the emir of Kano, when people come to him for land to build an Almajiri school or whatever, he tells them, no, I will not give you land for that. But if you want to build a school, I would give you land for that. So what he's been an advocate for child education. So we need more leaders like that will try and change the mindset of people in Nigeria that education is actually important, because that's the only way we can get out of poverty. And that is the way we can improve on our human capital.
And I guess my last question will be on that question of getting the right leaders. I mean, we really are only a few months away from what will become the next election season. We all saw what happened last October with the NSAS protest. What is your advice to the young people of Nigeria in terms of what are the next steps they should be taking, and what should both the young people and Nigerians in general be doing to get the leaders into office who really do value education?
Right. Okay. That's an interesting question, because as you know, Nigeria, we've got a youthful population, right? And I remember growing up, the likes of our leaders went into leadership when they were young. The likes of General Yakubu Gowon, Awolowo, they got into leadership in their 30s. So we've got lots of young people. They can get into politics as well. And as you know, politics and democracy is a numbers game. I'm saying to the youths of Nigeria, you've got the numbers. Use it. because the young ones are thinking you need money to run elections in Nigeria, to win elections in Nigeria, right? But I'm saying to you, young ones, come together as a force, right? Choose someone among you and support him because you have the numbers. Don't be intimidated by anyone and their money, right? The numbers is on your side. Don't go into crime, don't go into violence. That's your passion. Channel it towards nominating a leader and all of you supporting that leader. Because the last time they tried to do that, they were not all on the same page. The young ones need to be on the same page and put forward a very good, strong candidate so that that candidate will give the incumbent or whoever is aspiring for leadership a run for their money. I believe in the young generation. They've got what it takes to transform Nigeria. They just need to be bold enough, be courageous enough, and support themselves. And hopefully they would get there, slowly but surely.
Amen to that. Well, Ronke, those are very encouraging words. Your story is very encouraging. Thank you for sharing your life. Thank you for sharing your life with all the young people that you are already helping. And to everyone who's out there, please join hands in with what Ronke is doing with the IA Foundation. Let us sponsor as many children into education because we are investing in lives, we're investing in the future. If you take a look on PSJUK's website and on our social media platforms, you will see some of the quotes which Ronke has shared. One of the ones that really struck me was where you talked about the fact that it was the out of school children of yesterday who have now become the bandits of today. There may very well be different arguments as to why what is going on in Nigeria is going on in Nigeria. But what we do know is that if the people who are currently being used as bandits, who are currently being used as insurgents, were gainfully employed and contributing to the economy of the society, then the evildoers would not really have people and materials in their hands. We're coming up to another election, and once again, the political class may very well be using the uneducated class to keep the trajectory in the way in which it has always been. These are the reasons why we have to en masse remove that set of people from being used. It's not the only solution, but it is a key part of the solution. Nigeria's population is projected to, by 2050, be as much as the population of the United States of America. That could either be a very good thing or it could be a very, very bad and dangerous thing. Can you imagine 3 times the amount of poverty, 3 times the amount of hunger, 3 times the amount of insecurity in Nigeria? That will be extremely worrying. And so at PSJUK, we are here primarily to do 2 things: to mobilize the voice of the Nigerian diaspora, primarily in the UK, but also in other locations across the world. There are other groups like this. You know, the diasporas of many nations have come together and have been responsible for positively transforming the fortunes of their nations. Why can't we in the Nigerian diaspora do the same thing? Pull our energies together. So we would like to encourage you to come along on the journey and be a part of the effort that PSJUK is leading, that IA Foundation is leading. If there's something that you are passionate about, if there's an area that you are passionate about, why don't you put your hands in the hats? Contact us and say, you know what can we do with this my area of passion? And let's all just join up as a cohesive force for positive change in Nigeria. So on that note, I really once again want to thank you, Ronke. I thank you for what you're doing. It's such an inspiration. We're pleased to be partnering with you. We're hoping that a lot more people will be partnering with you as well. And I see some messages. I see Margaret Oshoba's message on there, and I think the team will carry on throwing in some more. Do we have any questions for Ronke before I start to bring our session to a close? I see some comments. Femi Oluteye mentions that the children go to school, they eat the meals, and then go back home after in the northern parts. Ronke, is that your experience? Maybe speak into that briefly.
That's because they need to come into school to access the food anyway. So, and you need to be in the classroom learning before you can access the food. So by default, whether you like it or not, there will be some learning that you have to have done to be able to access that food. And I'm sure immediately you finish eating, the school is not going to let you go home. You'll still have to go back to classes till the school ends. So whether you like it or not, by default, some snippets of education would have been transferred to those children.
Yeah. And I guess it's one of those scenarios whereby you can keep iterating it. Okay, even if they haven't learnt as much, then we'll come back again tomorrow or next week and block some of the places where the system is leaking. I think, but like you said, you're at least there first, and over time you will be progressing in your knowledge. Somebody else asked the question: How can the structure be improved for women in local areas?
When you say structure, what do you mean by structure?
Yeah, it's not as clear. And if the person who asked that question can maybe just explain that in a lot more detail. But generally speaking, whilst we're waiting for that clarification, I find that there's almost as though there's two Nigerias. There is what's going on in the urban areas, and there's stuff that's going on in the peripheries. In actual fact, a lot of the atrocities going on in Nigeria in the outer periphery areas do not even make the news. So whatever it is that you're hearing about Nigeria right now in terms of the insecurities and the problems, it is so many times worse for the simple reason that a lot of it doesn't get into the news. But what is your experience of the people, the women in those rural parts? Can anything be done for them? Is that another NGO? Is that somebody else who's really, really passionate about women that needs to be doing something there? Because I guess reaching the mothers, a lot of times is through them reaching the children.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to imagine that these mothers you're talking about are mostly illiterates. Yeah. And most of these women, they know that education is the only way they can come out of this poverty. So those women, they normally will do anything they have to do, hawk things around, do whatever they need to do to get money to send their kids to school. Luckily, primary education is primarily free in Nigeria, right? So it's just a case of buying uniforms, school bags, books, that is really the cost. So if people come forward to help to sponsor, work with these parents, right? They are willing. I mean, my experience is not the one of parents saying, no, our children should not go to school because they need to go and hawk. That's not it. That's not what it is. It's a case of we don't have money. That's why we can't send them to school. So therefore, if a philanthropist comes forward to say, I would pay to buy whatever that child needs to go to school, these women will willingly allow their kids to go to school. Sometimes last year, 2 years ago, before the pandemic, I went to visit a school in Abeokuta. And the head teacher was telling me that there are two brothers in the school, and they've only got one shoes between the two of them. So if one comes to school one day, the other cannot come to school because the other one would not have the shoes, because they have to walk from a very far distance. So because of a pair of shoes, someone would lose out on education. It is that bad. And that's why we are saying from the rooftop, please sponsor a child. It is really, really bad out there. The poverty is rife, and it's education that can take us out of this poverty. Because I would like to imagine those bandits, those kidnappers, I'm sure there would not be a graduate amongst them. Because a graduate has got education, they can work, they can earn money. Yeah? So they've come out of the poverty cycle. Those people doing all these things are people who are deprived, who are poor. So let's take people out of poverty with education. Education is the silver bullet to take people out of poverty. So let us all do this. Let us sponsor one child, just one child. Just sponsor one child. And the ripple effect of that is unbelievable. So I
Yeah.
want to encourage everyone. I would
You
also
actually,
want to seize this opportunity to actually put on record my appreciation to the board of trustees of IE Foundation. Yes, I'm the founder of IE Foundation, but I cannot do it alone. I've got a formidable 11-member board of trustees that support me. Most of them even donate to the foundation. Most of them even sponsor children in Nigeria. So I want to thank the board of trustees for supporting me and actually holding my feet to the fire, because I too need someone to hold my feet to the fire to make sure I can continue doing what I'm doing. So I want to say a big thank you to all our board members and to all our volunteers. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
fantastic. Well, Ronke, you sounded a little bit like Prime Minister Boris Johnson there when you said it was the silver bullet. I think he said education was the Swiss Army knife that will lift girls in Africa out of poverty. So you guys are pretty much aligned on that. But I did also want to mention there's something you mentioned about the women in the local areas. And, you know, over the last couple of weeks, as we've had Afghan refugees coming into the country, I've been involved with some of the efforts receiving those Afghan refugees and settling them into the UK. And I've actually been really, really amazed and surprised that although there is a large number of them who are not educated and cannot read a word, either in English or indeed in Dari or Pashto or Farsi, their local languages, nevertheless, what keeps coming out is a strong desire that whilst I may not have been able to make headway, please, I want these children to go to school and grow up and become something. You know, some of the children who were kidnapped during the Chibok girls incident and managed to get recovered, and then they went off to the US, and around about now, they've actually started graduating, and they're starting to become doctors, and they're becoming nurses, and they're becoming engineers, and whatever else it is they're becoming. These are a whole bunch of lives that are doing good for society, which we were almost deprived of. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to join my voice with Ronke to say, let us redouble our efforts, particularly as Nigerians in the diaspora, to do our bits to bring about a positive Nigeria. And seeing that Ronke thanked the board of IA Foundation, I think I will be fired if I do not thank the trustees and the directors of PSJUK, the supporters of PSJUK, and all of you guys who are contributing and donating to make this work happen. And please, we'll love to ask more of you to come on board and just come and put your hands to the plow, put your hands in your pocket. In addition to advocating about the plight of Nigerians, let us also put our hands in our pocket and do some practical interventions where we can. You know, whilst Ronke is sorting out education, we might be able with another hand to sort out feeding for people who can't feed. Lots of people whose farms have been destroyed because of the insurgencies, because of the what has been referred to but is not accurate farmer header crisis. All of those things we have an opportunity to input into and make a difference. And so, Ronke, once again, I just want to use this opportunity to say thank you for coming to join us over lunch. Thank you for sharing your life. Next year, we're going to have a very interesting speaker who's going to be talking to us primarily about another area from education. IA Foundation, please visit their website and sponsor a child, and please sign up with PSJUK so that we can journey together to bring about a better Nigeria. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this lunchtime. God bless you all.
Thank you, Pastor Ayo. Thank you, and thanks to all at PSJUK. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.